you were to, say, have a record of this kind of phenomenon taking place, let's say some sort of primitive tribal culture out in, darkest Africa or the Australian outback or someplace like that, right? Where these are primitive peoples who have never had any exposure whatsoever to, say, the Bible or Christian teachings, right? Someone who has never in his entire life had that kind of experience, that kind of religious education, that background. He experiences some sort of NDE or some kind of phenomenon and suddenly becomes a believer in Jesus, even though there's absolutely nothing in his culture.
I think it would be really hard to screen out how much contamination. I mean,
but I'm giving just sort of
exposure they actually.
But I'm giving kind of a general example of if this sort of thing were to happen, where you would have a Christian conversion in a place where you would not be likely to have that sort of thing happen anyway, in the first place, then that might be an interesting phenomenon to study.
Okay, and you know what, guys? Actually, and I can only really talk about the Western experiences, like in America and Canada.
Oh, of course.
Right.
I don't have much knowledge about the Eastern near-death experiences, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say about most Americans who have the near-death experience, even people who don't believe in God or Jesus, they will meet God or Jesus. So people who don't believe in Jesus, they tend not to meet him that often, but they do definitely tend to meet God, which is about I think about 27% of people who have an NDE experience.
Where are these numbers coming from?
Yeah, I mean, a minute ago you threw out the number 95%, and then a couple moments later you said that it was just a guess. I mean,
and now it's 27%.
Where's this 27% coming from?
Yeah, so you have to. There should be studies to that exist if you're starting to list figures. Right.
Yeah, there are. It's I can cite my source. It's on it's a website. I mean, do you actually want the address to go ahead and take a look at it?
I'd be curious about what the address is, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or
right.
at least the.
But wherever it is, see, you read something on a website, right? I think the immediate thing to do, if you want to make sure you're getting accurate information, is take that and now look at other sources, not just other websites, but maybe books that have been published, studies that have been done. Check out if this website that you're reading now is in full possession of the facts. Because just saying, I have a website is my source, that's sometimes not necessarily good enough.
Okay, and the website is neardeath.com. You could just Google it, you'll find it right away.
Yeah, I'm sure that's one without an agenda.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the actual experience. A lot of time it's being taken up, and we haven't even gotten to the experience.
Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to go over the experience, and then I think we have to move on to other callers.
Okay, 5 minutes. All right. Like many people, not everybody meets God or Jesus in every NDE, but the interesting thing is that most Americans, even people who are atheists, you will agree that in their culture, they know about God and Jesus, about Christianity, they know about Satan, the devil. It's all in the Bible. Even though they don't believe in it, they have knowledge about it, right?
Yes, that's part of the point.
Yeah. And then you might say, well, even if an atheist has an NDE experience, his brain might go back into that. Since he knows he's dying, the brain might have some sort of emergency software where it runs into, it makes it hallucinate a dying experience. I don't know why it would do that, but let's say that's what it does, right?
Right. I've been informed just now that astronauts experience near-death experience, something like a near-death experience in training.
Well, all they do is they experience the light in the tunnel. They don't experience like 90% of the other stuff, like meeting of the relatives, gaining knowledge, out-of-body experience. Well,
how do you know they don't? Have you seen this?
Huh?
How do you know they don't? Have you seen this?
I read so many accounts that I mean, I don't know. I must have read dozens, hundreds of accounts, and
right.
I just.
Here's why the near-death experience phenomenon I think is appealing to people, and here's why I think that there are so many accounts that you've read, and all of which seem to be pooling similar information and what have you. It is part of human nature. Okay, it's part of our hardwired survival instinct. we don't want to die. All right. If there's one thing that the human race has been looking for, ever since we got up on all fours, it's a cure for death. And if we can't have the cure for death, then we want the next best thing, which is we want to know that when you die, you really don't. That has been at the core of so much of what religion has been doing for 10,000 years and more. And now you have these sort of non-religious, but still sort of quote-unquote spiritual concepts of life after death, which you find reported in, say, near-death experiences, or by these television psychics who tell you that, they can contact your dead grandfather or what have you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that what you're reading and why all of these reports are so prevalent has a lot to do with this cultural phenomenon that has the same thing that has inspired religion for so many years.
Well, I agree with you, but I'd like to give Caesar a couple minutes at least to go over the experience.
That's what I'm saying, is that we need
interruption.
But the point that I was simply making is that you're reading accounts, and these are called anecdotal evidence, and anecdotes, unfortunately, aren't considered good evidence, mainly because there's no way you can say, all right, let's take that and let's test it, and let's see if it works over and over again the same way, see if we can confirm that response. And
yes, it has been tested, but I agree. Can you give me at least maybe 2 minutes to finish up?
Yeah, please.
Sorry. So let's take a tip. So many atheists have this experience, and they might meet God, they might meet Jesus, or they might not. But there's something really interesting though. The people who have this NDE in America, in the West, they believe in God and Jesus. They also believe in the devil because he's like the arch enemy of God or whatever. He's like the bad guy. Everybody who believes in God tends to believe in the devil too. And the interesting thing is that in the near-death experience, nobody ever met the devil. He does not exist. He never shows up. Even people who have hellish ND experience who go to hell, they never meet the devil. Nobody, any entity that they encounter in hell never says, I'm the devil, I'm Satan. It never happened. And that's just one of the things that makes it kind of suspicious of saying, if this is really just a fantasy of a dying brain, why isn't the brain fantasizing, why doesn't it bring up the Satan, the all-important arch-enemy of God? He never shows up, ever.
That's an interesting point.
Most people who believe that stuff think they're going to heaven.
No.
That's just the way it is.
People have hellish experience, really bad ones where they're thrown into hell, and they usually meet are like shadow people, and they might meet some sort of creatures, but they're more human. They're not. Nobody ever meets demons with horns and pitchforks and a tail. Almost never happens. You usually just meet shadow people or people that are like, you can't really tell what they are, and Satan is never encountered. And the reason why is because some people, when they actually talk to God in these near-death experience, when the few people who actually met God, they ask about Satan, and God simply says he doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. So you're bringing this up because you don't believe in hell.
No, I do believe in hell. Hell is real. People do go to hell.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that hell is not, and another thing about that, many people think hell is forever. Actually, it's not. In the experience, people went to hell.
Now you're just saying stuff that you have no reason to know.
Yeah, we're getting into a whole other thread of the conversation.
I'm talking about the actual experience of people, the eyewitness testimony of these people who went through this stuff. I'm getting information from them. I'm not making it up.
Okay. Now, why?
Well, I think we ought to move on to another call.
Yeah, though. But my parting question for you would be: what reason do we have to think that these experiences that these people are reporting are anything other than A, dreams, B, hallucinations, C, the brain doing crazy things, or D, just stories that are being told in order to further some kind of and reinforce existing beliefs?
All right. One is Satan. Basically, most people believe in Satan. They never met the guy. Nobody ever met him. There's other things too. Reincarnation. Many Christians don't believe in reincarnation. Guess what? They're told you do reincarnate, and you actually reincarnate quite often. 3, there's probably you ask a question to God, He always answer it to you, or to the angels, or whatever you want to call them. Is there life on other planets? They always say yes.